Welcome, everyone. We're here for our Mind and Spirit series, Meet the Producer. And I have the great pleasure to actually be here today with Luis Robledo. He
Hello.
has been a producer and actor for quite some time, over 2 decades. And hi, Luis. I'm
Hi.
so grateful to be here and thank you for inviting us to do this interview and to get to know you a little better.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Before I want to ask you a lot of questions about your path, why don't we drop into this day actually? Like, if you could kind of clue us and our audience in where are we here and what have you done so far today? It's a beautiful
Okay.
Saturday.
All right. So today is Saturday, and wife and I got up at the same time, and we do our morning routine. She goes off and does her meditation, and I do my meditation. And then I usually finish before she does. So then I go make the coffee. So it's a very important part of the morning. I made the coffee, and we had to rush a little bit today because we knew we had this interview with you guys today, and so but we still wanted to get our shopping done. And since it's Saturday, that's when we go to farmers market. So we had to go to farmers market to get everything. But it was like, I mean, we like knocked it out so quickly. We were back in within a half an hour. So surprisingly, I have gotten some things done today. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for giving us this insight. We have just spoken about your latest movie, The Song That Calls You Home. So, for everyone who hasn't seen that movie, go watch it and go watch that interview actually. But after you get to know Louise now a little better,
Okay.
um, I would like to know, how would you describe your path of being an actor and producer? And maybe you can kind of like give us a little outline. What was first? When did you start? Did you ever do anything else before? Or did you, like, was that your
Okay.
vision from
Okay.
when you were little?
Yeah. Okay. No, it wasn't. I mean, my path as an artist has been everything but what I've ever planned for. So, put it this way: my first venture into arts was music. So I was a guitar player, and I was really into the guitar, and I even ended up going to music school. Went to New England Conservatory of Music as a jazz studies major, playing the guitar, and so it was never my intention to get into movies at all because I was like a music guy. But what happened was that my roommate in college and I got busted for smoking some weed, and so we got kicked out of the dorms. And this is like a long time ago when weed wasn't as accepted as it was today. And my father was pissed. I mean, he was so mad. He flew me back to Texas. Like he bought me a flight for like the next day, which was a lot of money. So I knew I was in a lot of trouble. And so he flew me back to just, tell me that he was going to cut me off because I was irresponsible and all these things, which, were not necessarily untrue. And so he cut me off. And so I went back to Boston knowing that either I had to find a way of making money to sustain myself or I'd have to end up back in Texas working for my dad, which I was like, no, I cannot do that. So it was very important to me. And so I ended up going to the gig office which is this place where they post all the different jobs you can play, like bar mitzvahs and weddings and all these things. And so I happened to be a guy there who was looking for musicians and singers to appear in like a television thing. And it paid like $1,500 for like a week of work. So I was like, oh man, that would do me really good right now. We were talking about like in 1990s, so that money was pretty good. So I went to this audition, and I ended up not getting that job. But less than a week later, they called me back to audition for this after school special. Back if you guys are in your 40s and 50s, you'll know after school specials because you probably watched them. And so I auditioned for this after school special that was the first one to do with kids with AIDS. This is in the early 90s. And lo and behold, I ended up getting one of the lead roles in that
As an actor.
as an actor.
just off the street, kind
just
of.
off the street.
Wow.
Like seriously, like they're like, I remember in the office, they're like, do you have a headshot? And I said, what's a headshot? And they're like laughing because they thought I was kidding. I was like, no, really, what's a headshot? They're like, you know, a picture that you use to try and get jobs. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that would help, right? So I ended up booking this lead, and there was some really, you know, established actors in that. Like Harvey Fierstein was in that, and Omar Epps and Suzanne Douglas, and a bunch of different people that were real, you know, real actors. And so here I was, just this kid, you know, didn't know anything. And I mean, it was so bad.
You were in your 20s at the time?
I was, yeah, I was in my, no, I was, this would have been, yeah, but I was like 19 when I got that job. Yeah, so I was exactly 19 when I got that job. And it was, I mean, it was so bad that at one point the director was, she had to tell me not to look into the camera. You know, she's like, don't peek into the camera. I'm like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I won't do it again. I've never did it again since then, ever, as an actor. Yeah, but yeah, it was a miracle that I even went there. And then what happened is I wasn't initially thinking of becoming an actor at that time. I thought this was just a blessing from God, keeping me away from Texas and my father, because this paid a lot more than $1,500. Mm-hmm. So I had like the best summer of my life, you know, and I was just this 19-year-old kid, and I got paid like more money than I had ever seen. And it was a really good summer. It was a lot of fun. I didn't go back to Texas. And I went back to the conservatory, and my plan was to just continue with music. Mm-hmm. But then I met this a guy named Peter Kelly, who was running a theater company, and we became good friends. And so he invited me to be part of his theater company, and that's really what made me fall in love with acting. Great. Was, you know, theater.
Theater. So you actually then played on the theater.
Yeah, I did a few years of theater in Boston, and with his theater company called the Harrison Project, and mm-hmm. did a bunch of plays. And then in '98, I moved out here to try and do film work and television.
Yeah. So what was your inner or maybe also outer process to make that step from being kind of in front of the camera as an actor to say, I want to make my own movies. I want to start producing.
Yeah. Well, again, it wasn't anything, again, that I planned, mm-hmm. because what happened is that the reason I started making movies was that I was getting a lot of work in film and TV, but I was getting typecast. You know, I was playing pretty much just gangbangers and drug dealers and crackheads and gangbangers and drug dealers and crackheads and one more time, right? And it got to be so bad that there was actually this I found out that there was a rumor amongst casting directors that I was
you were that
I was a gangbanger who had kind of, you know, rectified his life through acting. And I'm like, no, I mean, you can't get more middle class than me. I went to Catholic school, for God's sake. You know, there's nothing gangbangery or street about me. So because of that, I was very frustrated, and I wanted to play different types of roles. So I said, I'm going to make my own film. Mm-hmm. And I ended up writing a short screenplay based on a pretty popular Spanish song about a taxi driver. And so I made this script, and I ended up making it. I took the money that I was making as an actor, and I produced it, and I ended up directing it myself, and I starred in it. And then my editor fell through, so I ended up having to edit it. And so really it was in that process that I really fell in love with the idea of creating mm-hmm. the universe, as opposed to just, you know, being a part of it, vis-a-vis acting. No?
Yeah, beautiful. Did that also lead you, I did a little, you know, research preparation to talking to you. So I read that in 2010 you founded the Center for Cinematic Arts, yes. right? So this is like a place where you did production, but also education. Correct. Is this something that is still going on?
It's not going on anymore, but it was open for about 12 years. Mm-hmm. And it was really, I created it as a means to practice directing, mm-hmm. as a way to work with actors consistently, and to learn how to set up shots and how to direct scenes. And I actually ended up it was initially, I had a bunch of actor friends, and I was like, guys, you guys want to get together, and I'll shoot you guys, with a camera, and I'll edit the scenes, and then we can watch them the next week, and we can critique them, and we can learn. And everybody thought it was a really great idea, and so I got this little group of actors, and we called it the Actors Gym.
Cool.
And but it got to be very popular, so much so that people started wanting to pay for it. So it became like a business venture after that, and so it became an actual class that people paid to do. And for me, it was perfect because it helped me develop as a director, giving me experience that I didn't have or probably wasn't gonna get in any other way, And I always felt that as an actor, that's why it was so important for me to always be in class and always be in, educating myself, because you can't use your jobs as the place to learn, right? You have to learn your craft outside of that so that you can just kind of excel when you get in front of the camera. So to me, what better than to put you in front of the camera every single week, right? And you're shooting scenes and the camera's right here. So all that same pressure that you would experience on a set, you experience right here or wherever we were working.
Beautiful.
And people would really start to lose the fear, and then eventually they got to a place where, like most professionals do after some time, that they don't care where the camera is.
Yeah.
There's not that thing that happens, right? that at first, right?
Do you still have that educational gene in you? Like, do you?
I do, and from time to time I have students that hit me up for some coaching and things like that, and I'm always happy to go back and help out. I just it did kind of take over everything, and so especially once I started really focusing more on production and doing more documentaries, I wasn't going to have the time or the resources to devote to both, So I had to kind of let it go, and so since then the company's transitioned to more of a production company than an educational one. Yeah.
Cool. So one last question.
Yes.
Of course, we want to look a little bit into your future. Where do you project yourself? I mean, I find it really interesting and very inspiring that also in the other interview about actually the movie and also now about your own path, you seem to be a very intuitive person, right? You go with the doors that are open for you and you just, I don't know, just, riding your wave. So do you have any plans? Do you have any projects that you want to work on that you maybe are working on at the moment, or do you have also this way of saying, well, no, I'm just gonna see what's coming?
Well, like you said, I don't know, 5-10 years from now, maybe I'm working in a circus. I don't know. I have no idea. You know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me, put it that way. As far as films, I have projects that I definitely want to still do, and one of them I'm working in particular is a documentary on cryptocurrency and blockchain that is coming from kind of a spiritual perspective, right? In other words, decentralized systems as a means for the liberated human being to be able to live, in a world that up until now has been a centralized nightmare, centralized government and centralized food sources and centralized everything, right? And so it seems to me that a lot of the problems that we have experienced and caused as humanity is not because humans are inherently evil or dumb or anything or irresponsible, but that we have actually fallen to these centralized systems that keep us from directly interacting with the world around us, in terms of our food and in terms of how we live and just really just becoming part of nature and not kind of living above or separate from it, So I think, and so that's kind of the angle of the documentary, as in maybe the idea that the blockchain is nature manifesting itself through human technology, perhaps, because it's nature I find to be decentralized for sure, and transactional for sure, right? There's lots of transactions happening between the mycelium and the trees and the birds and the bees and everybody's, the whole thing is transactional. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm in the kind of the fundraising stage But that's one that I have definitely a passion for those new technologies that could set systems free.
And it's a very beautiful way at looking, on looking at them, like, in this natural and connecting way. It's I haven't learned about that yet. So I'd be curious.
I mean, I have a lot of
next
hope
documentary.
that these technologies are going to free us in ways that we've never been able to. I mean, imagine if all of a sudden electricity is available everywhere, and communication. Now with Starlink, people can have access to information in places where they never could before. I mean, the possibilities are really endless, and it would really unlock, because geniuses don't just exist in Western countries. Geniuses exist everywhere, but it's just the problem is we have all these great people who don't have access to put their ideas out, right? And through these blockchain technologies, now we're able to have communication with these people. You know what I mean? So who knows what's out there that we haven't even tapped into?
Yeah. Well, great. Maybe we'll know it through you. Thank you so much, Luis, for your
pleasure.
time, for
Thank
inviting
you very much.
us.
Thank you guys
and,
for listening.
Thank you
and
for
watching,
and see you next time.